From Eyewitness News, this is Newsmakers.
At a reported 6,000 hits a minute, the Rhode Island Healthcare Exchange website, the pipeline for President Obama's Affordable Care Act, crashed on day one. The lapse was only temporary, and in reality, it was a pleasant surprise for HealthSourceRI.com administrators who weren't sure how many people would be interested in exploring their Obamacare options. But the true test is on the horizon. How many Rhode Islanders will sign up for the healthcare exchange, and will it be enough to make HealthSource Rhode Island worth it? Our guest this week on Newsmakers, HealthSource RI Executive Director Christine Ferguson.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Joining me on the panel, WPRI.com reporter Ted Nisi and Eyewitness News analyst Arlene Violet. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Christy, welcome back to the program.
Great to be here.
How are you sleeping?
Very well.
All right, good. All right, so we tape on a Friday morning. The HealthSource RI website has been up and running into its fourth day. How many people have signed up for health insurance plans?
So right now we've had 366 applications that have been completed and processed. We've had almost 4,000 calls. This is the 2-day total. I don't have the 4-day or the 3-day total.
Okay.
We've had almost 4,000 calls, almost 100 folks walking in, and close to 20,000 unique website visits in 2 days. And 2,000 accounts were created, so that started the process for people.
Let me ask you something. Of the 366, is that individuals, or does that also include small businesses?
It's everything. It's everything combined. I don't have it broken down right now.
Do you know what the level of interest is from the small business end at all?
Well, I can tell you we've been across the state for the past 30 to 60 days, and there's been tremendous interest. We're working closely with the broker community, and they tell us that there's a lot of interest. So the renewals for small businesses will start January 1st. And so really we probably won't know until November, December.
What's the goal? How many people do you need?
Our target right now is between 70 and 100,000 people in the first 18 months. We'd love to beat that target. There are 15,000 small businesses in Rhode Island that offer health insurance to their employees, and we're hoping that a good portion of them will explore the exchange and choose the full employee choice model that we've done here that is unique to Rhode Island.
And is that, as Tim sort of alluded to this, when you say 70 or 100,000 people, is that on the individual side, or is that when you add in the people from the small businesses? Because I think a lot of people are focused on the individual market, but you're hoping to get a lot of take-up on the small business side. Yes,
absolutely. We're the only state in the country that's really focused on the small business side, and the reason that we did that was small business rarely gets a break, and this approach of being able to go to the exchange, set an amount that you can afford, find a plan that fits that amount, and then allow your employees to choose from the other 15. That's a very unique, and the only place you can get it is on the exchange, and large companies don't have it either. So it's the first time that really we've led with small business, I think, in the state for a long time.
Now you need a mix here. I mean, of the 70,000 to 100,000 people that you need in 18 months, do you know how many need to be young and healthy, and you hope they're not going to rely on healthcare as much as opposed to those who might be tapping into the healthcare system more?
So the back end of the exchange, these questions are great because it highlights the fact that one component is the component everybody's focused on right now, which is, go on, you sign up, all of those pieces. But the equally, if not more important component is how do we manage and work with our healthcare insurers and our providers and consumers around making sure that the way that the plans are designed really help manage cost. And so one of the issues that people have really been concerned about across the country is if you don't have enough young people in the overall pool, that costs will go up. But that's always been the case. I mean, it's not new now all of a sudden. So I think when we look at it across the board, you'll see that there will be quite a few people in that lower age group who will take up.
But do you know how many you need as part of that 70 to 100,000?
No, it's not a question of need or not need so much as it is a question of how the cost of healthcare.
Yeah, it
moves,
relates to the premiums,
right?
and let's talk a minute about the premiums, because in Rhode Island, we really have high premiums compared to the rest of the country and the average that's being cited right now. I looked at various states, and for example, take Florida, that has a lot of gray hairs, like me.
Who are on Medicare.
$174 less for the groups, before they go on to Medicare, et cetera, than here. $100 less for age 30. In Florida, because they have competition. What happened here in Rhode Island? We've got the neighborhood health plan, but they're a bit player. It's the total dominance of Blue Cross Blue Shield, and a lack of competition tends to juice up the cost of premiums. Why didn't we get more competition? We've had a couple of years to prepare for it.
Well, we haven't really had a couple of years to prepare for it. We've had, we have the market that we have in Rhode Island right now, and we had Tufts. Tufts will come in on January 1st of 2015. Connecticut Co-op.
They haven't applied yet, though, have they? Has that been processed? So that's still theoretical, isn't it?
No, they're in the market already. They've agreed to come in.
To come in,
yes.
But not. They're not available on the health exchange at least till 2015. They're not there now, right? And how about United?
United is there. United
not on the health exchange now. When are they coming in?
Well, United is on the small business side of the health exchange, and the product that United offered us was not so much a United product as a subsidiary of United, and so we were really looking for good quality. And
why are the premiums so high compared to the rest of the country?
The premiums are high compared to the rest of the country in New England generally. In terms of Rhode Island, if you compare us to New England, we're in pretty good shape. We have, however, we're on the cusp of some real possibilities in terms of reduction in cost, and the single most important thing to make that happen is that individuals make the choice as opposed to employers. And so we spent our time really laying the groundwork for the next step. And the next step, which starts now, is a negotiation of new arrangements in terms of how people get care so that we can bring costs down. That new arrangement piece, that can't be done unless individuals are the ones making the choices, because we tend to regulate when somebody else makes a choice for you. In this case, when people come to the exchange, if we get the volume of small businesses that we need, then I think you'll see some experimentation around different ways of getting care. We've got a very robust call center, probably one of the best in the country, that is designed not only to help people choose plans when the one time, but also throughout the year, to work with them on which provider to choose, how to look at what their benefits are versus what kind of providers might be best suited for them, and questions that they have throughout the year. So we've laid the groundwork in this build of an entity, and the groundwork really is about understanding that premiums are only one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is how you get care, and that's going to bring premiums down, and that's where we have the most ability in this state to really use our size and to use our ingenuity to make changes in that arena.
Chrissy, I want to turn back to the news of the week, the launch. You mentioned you had 366 in the first 2 days. Connecticut only had 373, so Rhode Island, despite being smaller, is actually pretty close. And the reports about the federally run exchanges, and people can Google that if they want to understand all the differences, but are pretty grim. They're saying maybe single digits because the technical problems are so troubled. Even Ezra Klein, a supporter who writes for the Washington Post, had a devastating piece this morning about how bad the federally run exchanges. We again have a state-run exchange. What did we do differently that the federal government didn't, apparently, that people are getting through the process more often in Rhode Island?
So I think that, Arlene, you can probably relate to the length of time that we in Rhode Island tend to think of ourselves as not so great compared to everybody else. This is an example of where the leadership in the state, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the legislature, the CEOs of the health plans, the provider groups, everybody really came together, and we made a decision to do something as a state. And when we made that decision, we went all in. We went all in, and we designed this to suit the needs of our population and to not look for perfection on the first day, but rather to build in all the backups that would be necessary so that if we didn't get perfection, we wouldn't have a crisis.
But Barack Obama presumably wanted this to work too, and his administration was in charge of those federal exchanges.
I can't speak for them, but I can speak for us. And what I can say to you is that I am so proud to be from Rhode Island right now because we did something that I don't think anybody else did.
Christy, I want to play something for you right now. We interviewed a young man named Sean Clough and asked him whether or not he was going to sign up for health care through the exchange. And here's what he had to say. Take a listen.
Well, compared to the cost of the health care,
you can't hear him right now, but
to me it's a no-brainer. Okay, I'll have to pay the $95. Does it sit well with me that I am struggling to pay my own bills? Then the government's saying, well, now you have to pay a $95 fee if you choose to not spend your money on a certain product. Yeah, that's frustrating.
All right, just so to recap there, he said instead of going into the exchange, he's going to pay the penalty of $95 because that's a heck of a lot cheaper than a couple of $100 a month in healthcare. You need that guy. He's a young man, hopefully healthy, Sean, but you need him in the exchange. What do you say to him?
Well, first of all, we need him in the market because he needs to be in the market. In other words, if he goes home tonight and he gets into a car accident or he's painting his house and he falls off the ladder, the fact of the matter is that we've made a decision as a country that we're not going to let him bleed to death in the street. He gets to come to the hospital, he gets to have care, he gets to get stabilized.
Yeah, the hospital's not going to turn him away, okay?
They're not allowed to turn him away.
That's right. Legally, they can't do that, so why would he buy in? He's going to be, he can walk into the emergency room and get that arm cared for.
As his parents will probably tell him, they can't turn you away, but they can ruin your credit. So the issue is that as we go forward, what all of us are going to learn, and one of our core values is, I don't want to force him to do anything. What I want him to do is to understand what the ramifications, what the choices are. By choosing not to have health insurance, you take a series of risks. He may or may not be aware of what those risks are, and we need to make sure he is. And then at the end of the day, if he makes that choice, he makes that choice, right? In the places that, Rhode Island, when I left state service in Rhode Island in 2001, the rate of uninsurance in Rhode Island was somewhere around 6%. For kids, it was like 3 or 4%, right? People generally want to get health insurance. There's a bunch of people who won't, but it's a relatively low percentage. Our job is to make it affordable. And this year, that it might not be something that he wants to spend money on. But next year and the year after, I think we'll get to the point where he understands what the ramifications are and the risks are to him, and where it's priced in a way that he will feel comfortable getting it.
All right, we got to take a break here on Newsmakers. When we come back, we're going to have an important conversation on what all of this costs. Our guest this week is the Executive Director of HealthSource Rhode Island, Christine Ferguson. Stay with us. You're watching Newsmakers.